In a world of tech bros and Silicon Valley startups, the most disruptive new CEO wasn't a 20-something in a hoodie. It was a 68-year-old grandmother from rural Ohio, armed with a wooden spoon and a secret family recipe. Her name is Carol Miller, and before she was a brand, she was simply a homemaker. For 45 years, Carol's world was defined by the four walls of her farmhouse kitchen. It was a warm, bustling kingdom, smelling of cinnamon, baked apples, and melting butter. Her husband, Robert, a man with a hearty laugh and a love for her baking, used to say her kitchen was the true heart of their home. She had raised 2 children and was now the proud grandmother of 3, and her love was a tangible thing, measured in perfectly crimped pie crusts and jars of shimmering, sun-kissed strawberry jam. This wasn't a career, it was a calling. A life of service to her family, a life she cherished. But when Robert passed away after a long illness, the heart of the home fell silent. The kitchen, once a place of joyful creation, became a quiet, lonely space, haunted by the memory of an empty chair at the table. For a year, the silence was deafening. Carol found herself adrift, her purpose suddenly gone. It was her daughter, Susan, who gently pushed her back toward the light. Their local church was holding its annual fall festival, and they needed baked goods. "Mom," Susan had said, her voice soft, "why don't you make a few of Dad's favorite apple pies? Just a few." Reluctantly, Carol agreed. She dusted off her old recipe book, the pages stained and softened with years of use. As she peeled the apples and rolled out the dough, something stirred within her. The familiar motions were a comfort, a connection to a happier time. She made 6 pies, each one a perfect golden brown testament to her love for Robert. At the festival, she placed them on a checkered tablecloth, expecting them to be one of many. Within an hour, they were all gone. A woman she'd never met came up to her, her eyes wide. "I have never tasted anything like that in my life," the woman said. "Where can I buy another one?" The question hung in the air, a question Carol had never considered. The next week, Susan had another idea. The county farmers market. "Just for fun, Mom," she urged, "to get you out of the house. Sell some of your jam." So on a crisp Saturday morning, Carol found herself behind a simple wooden table, a handwritten sign that read, "Carol's Country Kitchen," propped up against a basket of pies. She felt nervous, out of place among the seasoned farmers and artisans. Her setup was simple: a dozen apple pies and about 30 jars of her signature strawberry jam and spiced apple butter, each sealed with a simple cloth lid tied with twine. Her first customer was a young man who bought a jar of jam, skeptical but intrigued. He returned 20 minutes later. "Ma'am," he said, holding up the half-empty jar, "I need to buy every single one of these you have." By noon, her table was empty. A small crowd of disappointed people had gathered, asking when she'd be back. Week after week, it was the same story. A line would form before she even finished setting up. She became a local legend, the Pie Lady. People didn't just come for the food. They came for her. They came for her warm smile, for the stories she told about Robert, for the feeling that they were buying something real, something made with love. She wasn't selling jam. She was selling nostalgia in a jar. For the first time since Robert's passing, this silence in her life was filled with the happy chatter of the market, and she had found a new, albeit small, purpose. She was the undisputed queen of the Ashtabula County Farmers Market, content in her small, sweet-smelling kingdom, never imagining it could be anything more. That summer, the catalyst for change arrived in the form of her grandson, Alex. A 20-year-old college student studying marketing, Alex was sharp, ambitious, and lived his life through a screen. When he came home and saw the phenomenon at the farmers market, he saw something his grandmother didn't: scalable potential. He saw the long lines, the frustrated customers being turned away, the cash box overflowing. He saw a brand. One evening, as Carol was counting her earnings on the kitchen table, Alex sat down across from her, his laptop open. "Grandma," he began, his voice full of excitement, "this is amazing, but you're thinking too small. We could be selling your jam to people in California, in Texas." Carol just laughed, a soft, dismissive sound. "Oh, honey, don't be silly. What do I know about California? And I certainly don't know anything about that internet thing you're always staring at." The digital world was a foreign country to her, one filled with strange languages like SEO, e-commerce, and social media engagement. The idea was terrifying. But Alex was persistent. He didn't use business jargon, he used an emotional appeal. He showed her a post on a local community Facebook page, a woman lamenting that she'd driven 40 minutes only to find Carol's pies were sold out. "Look, Grandma," he said gently, "it's not just about selling more, it's about sharing this with more people. It's about sharing Dad Robert's memory. This is your legacy." The word legacy struck a chord. Reluctantly, she agreed to let him try. And so Operation Gran-trepreneur began. Their headquarters was the farmhouse kitchen. Alex would work late into the night designing a website, while Carol, in the early mornings, would be developing new recipes, her official head of R&D. The process was a clash of generations. Alex tried to explain what a domain name was. She just wanted it to sound friendly. They settled on carolscountrykitchen.com. He wanted slick professional product photos. She insisted on pictures of the jam sitting on her own windowsill, with the morning light streaming in. She wanted the website to feel like walking into her kitchen. He built a site that was simple, warm, and rustic, with their story, her story, front and center. Then came the Instagram account. Alex tried to explain hashtags and algorithms. She just wanted the pictures to be pretty. Their first post was a simple, beautiful photo of a freshly baked apple pie. The caption, written by Alex but channeled through Carol's voice, read, "My late husband Robert always said my apple pie could solve any problem. I'm not sure about that, but I know it was always made with love. Hope it brings a little warmth to your day." It was authentic. It was real. It was Carol. The website launched on a Tuesday. For 2 days, nothing happened. Carol felt secretly relieved. Then on Thursday evening, a strange cha-ching sound echoed from Alex's laptop. He bolted upright. "We got one! We got an order!" Carol rushed over, peering at the screen. An order? From who? Alex pointed. "Someone in Dayton, Ohio. They bought 2 jars of apple butter." It was a magical moment. A complete stranger, 100 miles away, wanted to buy something she had made with her own 2 hands. The next day, she packed the box herself, lining it with extra padding. Just before sealing it, she paused, took out a small note card and wrote, "Thank you for your order. I hope this brings a little sweetness to your day. All the best, Carol Miller." She insisted on doing this for every order. It was her personal touch, a piece of her kitchen sent across the state. That week, they got 7 orders. The next, 15. The cha-ching sound was becoming a new, welcome rhythm in the quiet farmhouse. The tipping point wasn't a sophisticated marketing campaign. It was a 28-year-old food blogger from Cleveland named Jessica. On a whim, after hearing about the legendary Pie Lady from a friend, she placed an order. When the box arrived with the handwritten note, she was charmed. When she tasted the spiced apple butter, she was converted. She wrote a blog post titled, "This isn't just jam, it's a grandmother's love in a jar." She wrote about Carol's story, about Robert, about the farmer's market, and about the simple, undeniable quality of the product. The post went viral overnight. It was shared across Facebook, picked up by bigger food blogs, and eventually mentioned in a small segment on a national morning show about America's hidden artisans. And then, the floodgates opened. The cha-ching on Alex's laptop became a constant, unrelenting symphony. The website crashed twice in a day from the sheer volume of traffic. Orders poured in from every state. A pie to Seattle, jam to Miami, apple butter to a soldier stationed in Alaska. Carol and Alex were completely overwhelmed. Her cozy kitchen, once a kingdom, now felt like a closet. This was the moment of truth for the brand. The easy path was to outsource, to find a co-packer, a factory that could mass-produce her recipes. But Carol refused. "The second it's made by a machine in a factory, it's not mine anymore," she declared. "It loses the love." So they scaled up, but with integrity. Alex secured a loan, and they rented a large commercial kitchen in their local town. But Carol didn't hire professional chefs. She put out a notice for helpers at the local senior center. She hired 3 other women, all widows, all over 65, her first employees. She personally taught them her methods, the way to stir the jam just right, the secret to a flaky crust. It became a community enterprise, a new purpose for a whole group of women. The handwritten notes continued, now penned by her new team, who took pride in the task. Carol Miller had transformed. She was still the woman in the flour-dusted apron, but now she was also a CEO. She was on Zoom calls with glass jar suppliers, negotiating bulk pricing. She was sitting with Alex, looking over profit and loss statements. A writer from a major business magazine came to interview her for a feature on seniorpreneurs. The photo they used showed her not in a boardroom, but in her new, bustling kitchen, surrounded by her team of grandmothers, a broad, genuine smile on her face. Her full-circle moment came when she was invited to speak at a small business conference in Columbus. Standing on stage, terrified but resolute, she didn't give a lecture on business strategy. She just told her story. She spoke of Robert, of her loneliness, and of her fear of the internet. She ended her speech with a simple message. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, maybe not, but you can remind her of the old tricks she's always known. For me, that was baking. All I needed was a little push, a good recipe, and a grandson who knew how to build a website. The standing ovation was thunderous. The business is now a multi-million-dollar enterprise, but on quiet afternoons, you can still find Carol right back where it all started, in her own farmhouse kitchen. Alex will come in, and they'll sit at the old wooden table, testing a new batch of peach bourbon jam. The empire is vast, but the heart of the home, the heart of the brand, is still right here. She holds a jar up to the light, watching the sunlight shimmer through it, a perfect, golden legacy of a life that didn't end with loss, but found a way to begin all over again. Carol Miller proves that sometimes the most powerful legacy isn't written in a will. It's written on a recipe card, passed down with love. What's a cherished recipe, a special skill, or a piece of wisdom that has been passed down in your family? We would be honored to read about it in the comments below. To discover more stories that honor these timeless legacies, consider joining our community by subscribing to 60+ Legends.